and it was pushed up out of the sea. So that part was the bottom of the ocean at that time.
Speaking of
But it was
Brimstone,
pushed up out of the ocean. It's a lucky thing for St. Kitts because it meant that St. Kitts not only had the volcanic rock to build houses and things like Brimstone Hill, but the limestone was used to make the mortar,
Cement, yes.
to put the stones together. So in those old days, they didn't have cement, is that white stuff you see on Brimstone Hill that they cut. And if you go on Brimstone Hill, the first part of the road, maybe about 300 yards up, you see a sign says lime kiln.
Yeah.
If you go in there, you see a stone structure. They used to mine the limestone, put it in there as rock, limestone rock. They have fire underneath it, they burn it until it becomes slaked, meaning that is soft and powdery. That now becomes lime, which they then add a few things like water and sometimes eggs and so on to add a binder to it. And they use that, all you see Brimstone construction is using the same limestone. And the thing is, because Brimstone was the only place that had limestone on St. Kitts, the British and French, remember the island was split between the two of them?
Yeah.
The British had the middle, which meant they had Brimstone Hill and the limestone. The French had Bastille, and all the way down the southeast, so they had the salt ponds. And important thing in those days, salt. So the British had no salt, but they had limestone. The French had no limestone, but they had salt. So they used to make an agreement that we will give you salt and you give us limestone. You get it?
Yeah.
But of course, when they're warring now, that fall apart. Okay? So that was what used to happen. They used to agree about sharing the resources to the benefit of all. Okay? Any questions? Yeah.
Is it any evidence that the farthest point they could have gone when they come in west is just to by the boat? Yeah, they couldn't pass because the seawater was like up that side, like at the island apart.
Not as far as I know. There's a painting by a guy called Lieutenant Lees. He did some nice paintings. We have either 4 or 5 of them, the originals. If you go to Scotiabank, you see them. One is in the lobby, and the other 3 are in a room just beyond the lobby. We use there to store them because of the fact that the temperature and humidity in there is best for preservation. Okay, the facilities we have don't provide that.
Is it possible the house cost there older than some of us here?
Huh?
The long building cost there. Is it possibly older than some of us here?
Than some of us,
Yeah.
but not all of us.
Which building?
And this is sorry, the long building
And
going.
then,
okay.
What was it?
Wasn't it used during sugarcane days?
Well, okay, so we talk about there was so
Opposite the nursing home.
shows a good breadth of land and the road that leads from Bastille to go to Sandy Point.
Okay.
Okay, so it was always there. Somebody asked something else. No?
When a gentleman was telling us his grandmother then went to sleep and they hear erosion and when they wake up Brimstone Hill was there. Is it any evidence of?
No. Brimstone Hill was long before your grandmother.
Long, that's when slaves just come.
Millions of years old. Okay, let me tell you, there was
They
a,
took
there
them
was an old myth.
104 years to build it.
There was an old myth
Yeah.
that Brimstone Hill, when was created when this volcano erupted, and it blew this whole inside
Yeah.
out, and when it landed upside down,
Oh, Jesus.
they get Brimstone Hill.
Oh.
That was an old myth.
And that's all way
Okay.
imagination.
But
Very.
the geologists
Facts.
have debunked that and shown that it was not Mt Liamuiga that blew that out and dropped it there. Okay, see this here? This is like a volcanic vent coming from the center of the earth up to the magma and coming up, pushing all the way up to Mt Liamuiga, this volcano. So when that come up, it goes boom. Okay? When the pressure builds up enough. Okay? But from this vent, you have side vents. See that? Like a branch, side vent. Brimstone Hill is one of those side vents. It came up, but it was not explosive. It was not an explosive eruption. It was one of those pressure eruptions that push up what you call a dome. You know, in St. Vincent's volcano, they have a big crater like ours. But the last few eruptions, the last one was a lot of ash and so on. But if you notice, after it, there was a dome inside the crater that was pushed up.
They
That was
created
how
a new one.
pushed up a dome.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
So the side vent from Mt Liamuiga pushed up a dome that created Brimstone.
So maybe that's the shake in the field when it coming up.
So she must have been very old, a few million years old to see Brimstone
Very,
appear.
very.
And it probably ain't appear overnight, eh?
Right.
Because even the one in St. Vincent, it appear over several weeks and
Correct.
months. Push.
And for that big to come and settle, they had to be
A long time, because for the slaves alone to build it was over 100 years.
Yeah, that's what I tell you. That's millions of years.
So that there can't be true.
No, but grandmother see that way there.